I really don't understand Netflix sometimes. It seems like that old South Park joke is true. You pretty much call the 1-800 number and you're automatically greenlit for a movie or a short web series. Whether it's good or bad, it's entirely up to them. Hello everybody and welcome to another movie review vlog. And today I took a look at another Netflix original series, Game Over Man. And Game Over Man is a bit of an action-style comedy starring Adam Devine, Anders Holm, and Blake Anderson from Workaholics. And in this movie, there are a couple of slacker housekeepers who must stop a bunch of kidnappers who are demanding ransom and stuff like that in a Die Hard style type of parody, where even though they say that they are aware of the Die Hard exists in their world and all that stuff, but at the same time, there's a lot of shenanigans, comedy ensues, and everything else. And like I said earlier in the beginning, I don't know what it is with Netflix lately, because from what I've seen from their original movies, a lot of their movies have not been very good or mediocre at best. And I have to say that out of all the mediocre Netflix movies, this is a little bit of a step up. A little bit. And by that, I do mean that in this movie, it kind of revolves around a lot of slapstick comedy and less seriousness. And at times, there's a lot of scenes in here, especially from the three main protagonists, who bicker amongst each other straight out of a Workaholics sketch. And coming from someone who's barely seen at least a couple of episodes of Workaholics, it just kind of felt a little mundane at times. However, there were a lot of shock drop comedies, as well as some unexpected moments, which I will admit, it did make me bust a gut or two in a multitude of scenes. But it's kind of like the slapstick, stupid humor type of comedy. You have to be really drunk, or you have to be really high in order to actually laugh at this sort of thing. Even though I was entirely sober while watching this movie, it still made me bust a gut. It was like the low-level type of comedy humor that usually is the type of slapstick that the occasional comedy fan would enjoy, especially, or if somebody had a really rough week, like myself, and wanted to just unwind for a couple of hours, which it did help for the most part. But as for the movie itself, for a lot of it was slapstick humor, and whenever these protagonists do tend to kill off a couple of the kidnappers, it was either by coincidence or accidental or some type of dumb slapstick thing. They do get off a few shots with some of the villains and bad guys, but at the same time, there were scenes where the kidnappers themselves were pretty much, if you ask me, were the highlight of the movie, because they were pretty much not the tone-deaf, quiet ones. They were more of the realistic ones, where apparently they were trained killers and soldiers, or former soldiers, and yet they give off a lot of what the fuck references and what the hell, even though a lot of it was pretty stupid as well. And then some of the other comedy jokes were a little bit forced and pushed, especially with the homosexual innuendos as well, which kind of worked, but at the same time, which didn't. And for those of you who do have a weak stomach, I highly recommend not watching this movie either, because there was a lot of gratuitous violence in here, from people getting their faces sliced up, or animals getting blown up into a little bomb packet with blood and everything else, which would make the occasional person feel a little uneasy and queasy. And apart from the protagonists and the villains, the hostages and side characters were not so great at times. There were some people, even one person in particular, who I thought got killed off pretty much in the very beginning of the second act, but he just came around and came right back in the third act, near the end of the third act, which I was like, how is that even possible? But I guess for comedy reasons, they just made it so. And I think that was one of the other biggest low points of the movie, is that the first act of the movie was a bit of a slow crawl with comedy antics and everything else. But when it started getting popping off and the kidnappers started doing their own thing and their own shticks, I thought they were the absolute highlight of the movie. They did a lot of comedies and some stuff that you just didn't expect that would happen with people, but I guess in a somewhat realistic situation, maybe these type of kidnappers would react to these sorts of things, or I don't know, do other of these antics because they either don't like each other or really like each other. And if you did watch the movie, you would know what I mean. Alright, so with that said, overall the movie is like I said before, it pretty much feeds into the lowest common denominator when it comes to comedy. So if you do have a couple hours to kill and just want to watch a comedy on Netflix, I highly recommend it. It's no 5-star type of movie or the greatest comedy ever. But at the same time, I would have to give this movie 2.5 out of 5 stars. And Netflix really needs to up their game, because between my rating and Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, you can see there's a bit of a continuation with these bad movies on Netflix, which apparently they don't really care for, or they need to up their game. And if you ask me, they need to step it up by bringing in some original or some good movies, and not pretentious low-level common denominator movies, which will feed into a possible sequel because they got a crap ton of money to spend from subscribers and endorsements and whatnot. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys have any requests for any future movie vlogs, feel free to let me know in my Patreon box for the $1 a month. Or if you guys have any comments about this movie, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. And I check any and all comments, and I do appreciate your guys' feedback, whether it be good or bad. I do like to follow up on everybody else's opinions. And with that said, I will see you all next time.